Welcome to a new episode. My dear viewer, let me take you back in time. Like to the 70s, ABO Mead? No, my friend, to more than 66 million years ago. If we were traveling with a time machine, we would have to switch transports. We'll go to what's known as the Mesozoic era, where the Earth's weather was warm, all covered with many different trees, with great diverse in animals, birds, and insects. This age was dominated by reptiles, and ruled by all kinds of dinosaurs. There were carnivorous monsters like Daspletosaurus and T-Rex, and herbivores like Corythosaurus and Anchiceratops. I know this one, ABO Mead. There's also Dr. Hesham's Mansorosaurus. There were dinosaurs that frightened sea creatures, like Spinosaurus and the Pterosaurus that could fly. It was the first kind of vertebrate to fly. A flying dinosaur like Quetzalcoatlus could be as tall as a giraffe, and his wings were 12 meters long. Hundreds of species lived in a reptile golden age, some swam, some walked, and some flew. It was an ancient paradise filled with vivid life and colors. Until a small detail changed. If we assumed that a dinosaur was watching the sky every night, it would have seen a new shining star. It was probably ABO Mead on YouTube. The star kept getting bigger and more shiny over the weeks, until, on a fateful day. Week 1, week 2, week 3 inches the star appeared like a second small moon in the sky, and then it disappeared, and the next day it reappeared but with the size of the sun. The star kept getting bigger and bigger, until the dinosaur knew it wasn't getting bigger, it was getting closer. The body penetrated the atmosphere with 60 times more speed than the sounds. It took 2 seconds to pass through the atmosphere separating Earth from space, an asteroid bigger than the Everest, that was steadily heading towards a coast close to the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. In a fraction of a second, it reached the Earth where everything changed forever. Life wouldn't be the same as it was. Dinosaurs on the ground saw a ball of light above Mexico. The asteroid hit the ocean coast and evaporated from the clash. It produced an energy equals to billions of nuclear weapons fired simultaneously. The thermal radiation resulted from the explosion was hundreds of thousands of degrees moving with the speed of light, that instantly burned anything in a radius of 1,500 kilometers. Because of the clash, the Earth crust flew like a liquid from under the asteroid, leaving a hole 25 kilometers deep and 150 kilometers wide. The ocean was pushed back for hundreds of kilometers. When the Earth crust rebounded to its place, it formed a mountain of molten crust that was up to 10 kilometers high. An immense amount of materials that make up 60 times the asteroid's size, they exploded and violently flew off until they penetrated the atmosphere and flew into space. The strength of this clash affected the entire planet in a few minutes, although it happened in Mexico Gulf. There was an 11-degree earthquake. It was the most vigorous quake to ever be witnessed by any living organism. The quake was so strong that studies said it shook the giant volcanic lands in India and caused volcanic eruption that continued for 30,000 years that covered half the surface of India with lava. Another studies said that volcanoes didn't erupt because of the asteroid, but they happened to occur at the same period, which made things even harder for the dinosaurs. Give us a chance. Let us fight. An asteroid from above and lava from beneath. Where would we hide? The fourth dimension. If you want us to extinct, just tell us and we'll do it. Not just this dino. Wait for a floody surprise. The water in the ocean returned to how it was and formed tsunami waves with a height up to a kilometer. You know how long it takes to walk for a kilometer. It means it was taller than Burj Khalifa. Burj Khalifa is about 800 meters. That's not just taller than the towers we have now, but taller than any tower humans may build. A kilometer high. These waves continued for hours, and the worst was yet to come. Dinosaur. The materials that penetrated the atmosphere, which were 60 times bigger than the asteroid, started to rotate around the Earth, hitting the Moon or even Venus, but most of them came back to Earth. While these rocks were returning through the atmosphere, they were extremely hot, and when they hit the ground, they turned the world into an oven for a while. We'll roast you from above and beneath, drown you, and suffocate you. Then sprinkle some hot coal in case you're not done yet. There are 2 theories here, that either the air was heated up to hundreds of degrees for a few minutes or it was heated for up to 1,000 degrees for 1 minute. Either way, plants and animals were burnt. They became BBQ'd. The only escape from getting burnt was being buried alive or hiding in a cave. You could have pulled a dinosaur's bone, my friend, and find it as smooth as brisket. The fires spread all over the world and continued for months. They turned Earth into hell. Almost all dinosaurs died whether burned or suffocated. One would tell me, RIP ABO Mead. Wait, my friend, the worst is yet to come. Is there more? A dinosaur, The substances evaporated and reached up to the atmosphere, and got trapped there, making the world gloomy and dark. Along with the smoke and dust of the clash, the sun rays were obstructed, so the world fell in complete darkness. When you see a light at the end of a tunnel, it's actually a flame light. They were the flames burning the earth. The fires burning the earth became the light source on the planet, killing the last hope for the plants surviving on photosynthesis. RIP. This killed huge marine reptiles. After a while and with the end of fires, temperature started decreasing and the world fell into winter that lasted for tens of years. In that moment, 75% of species on the earth went extinct. 75% of species were gone. My dear viewer, that was the closest theory on the dinosaur extinction. That was suggested by the Professor Luis Alvarez, the Nobel winner in physics, along with his geologist son, Walter Alvarez. Is a geologist the same as a monologist, A.B.O. Mead? Shut up, you hasty, and focus on extinction. These scientists found a huge layer of soil with a matter called iridium, which is a rare element on Earth and came from space, along with some other evidence related to fires and wreckage of the same era, where they concluded dinosaurs were caught off guard, with the most dramatic extinction, salting all the wounds. That's the scientific theory to explain that happening. That happening ended an age that lived for more than 160 million years. Years went by, and life got back up on its feet after the extinction. Ages went by and millions of years flew by as well. The world becomes inhabited with creatures that didn't see dinosaurs nor had any idea they existed. But the planet never forgot the reptiles dominated it for ages. It's true most of their bodies decomposed and ceased to exist, but some bodies were meant to be underwater. Then soil, sand, and volcano ash had all deposited on top, and more layers kept depositing over these sediments. By time the layers went hard like layers of rocks. The minerals and sediments in underground water permeated to the body's bones and replaced them with a process called mineralization. This turned bones into rocks in the shape of the bone itself. Earthquakes then break rocks, and rain causes soil erosion, which unmasked one of this planet's secrets to the old people, one of this universe's secrets. The planet was haunted. When people saw skeletons of this size, though they were monsters that lived on Earth, stone giants, or cyclopses, these one-eyed giants. The author of the book, The First Fossil Hunter, says that when the ancient Greek found dinosaur fossils, like the Protoceratops, a creature that no human ever saw or was told about, they guessed that it had to be a lion with an eagle head, and told the myth of the griffin. When ancient Chinese saw the fossils, they called them dragon bones. Chinese saw these fossilized dinosaurs and produced the legend of the dragon. Especially that these skeletons resurfaced after rain and storms, so they said it must be a dragon sentenced to death and fell from the sky. It was that hard to imagine there were creatures like dinosaurs lived here then died. It was difficult for the brain to process, it was like fiction days flew by. And science developed, and in the 17th century, the British naturalist Robert Plot found a bone of a dinosaur's thigh. So he concluded something outstanding. What was it? A.B.O. Mead. He said that this bone was from a creature that lived in the past and that's its body. Whoa. It may seem obvious, and should have been said earlier, but it was an important discovery, that these are skeletons for creatures that used to exist and not dragons or stone monsters. He said it was probably a giant elephant from Hannibal's army fighting in Carthage against Romans. But there was a confusing question: if these were the giant elephants of Carthage, how did they come from North Africa to Britain's islands? He then went back and said the answer didn't make sense, that it was a bone of a giant king mentioned in the Torah like Goliath. Anyway, Robert Plot's bone went missing, but his assistant documented it in the Book of Natural History, the illustrator Michael Burgers, who drew it with extreme skill enough for us to identify and copy it. A century later, an English historian called Richard Brooks saw it and named it the first scientific name for this part of a dino's bone, meaning, a human scrotum. Here, we were dealing with creatures that we never knew nor saw, just bare fossils, bones for creatures we never saw. Dinosaurs remained a puzzling mystery for centuries, until a professor in Oxford in 1815, a geologist, and on one of his trips he discovered bones of an animal, and after examining its jaw, teeth, and limbs he gave the first almost true definition, the closest concept to dinosaurs, that it was an extinct giant carnivorous reptile. He called it a megalosaurus. This is a Greek word that means great lizard. That was before we knew about dinosaurs, and before the word dinosaur was coined. Sir Richard Owen, the English biologist, decided to fill up his playlist. He decided to group this family of fossils and call it Dinosauria, meaning terrible lizards. He thought, like his age's scientists, that it was an old species of reptiles. These reptiles had nothing special except their huge size. This was the first human impression on dinosaurs, that they were slow, stupid, and cold-blooded creatures that kill each other randomly, and weren't fit to survive, so they went extinct. They couldn't survive, and other superior creatures survived instead. Like who? Abiomede. Tapeworm? Like us, my friend, us the mammals, the current dominators of the planet. The proof that we as mammals dominate the planet is that we're still alive while the dinosaurs are extinct. This feeling towards dinosaurs increased man's ego and pride, and his perception is the ruler of the planet. So films were made like King Kong, this giant gorilla that could kill dinosaurs easily. The term, dinosaur, was used to describe anything outdated and long gone, although this was far from the truth we discovered later on. Let me tell you how. Mammals used to be nothing in the dinosaur age. The weather was always hot during the Mesozoic era, which allowed reptiles to spread as they had less skin pores, so their bodies lost less water during heat. They had kidneys to keep water inside their bodies. Let me tell you that for generations dinosaurs frightened mammals, 165 million years. Mammals' size didn't exceed a kitten. A rodent like the Liaochinodon Wei tried to escape the dinosaurs' rule over the planet, with a rat-like lifestyle. To go out by night and climb trees, or learn how to swim like the Castorocauda, and feed on insects, seeds, tree trunks, and nuts. They had claws to dig and hide underground from wild dinosaurs, like the Docophosor. The first time these second-ranked creatures had some freedom was when the asteroid ended the dinosaurs. These suppressed creatures went out one morning and found the planet empty. What kept you hiding is extinct, go out. Their harsh lifestyle that they practiced for long generations helped them to survive with the least of everything. They exited their holes after the asteroid hit the Earth. They moved around freely for the first time around the dead dinosaurs and dying reptiles, to hunt an insect to eat. Dinosaurs weren't just bigger, they were smarter. A recent study suggested that the short-armed T-Rex, whose name by the way means tyrant lizard king, had a brain with 3 billion nerve cells, which was more than the baboons. Meaning it was necessarily a stupid animal, where some scientists thought it was smart with flexible perception and long life. This was a huge claim that not all scientists agree on. But at that time, intelligence wasn't the determining factor of the winner like how it is now with humans. When the asteroid hit Earth, the strength point of the dinosaurs, their huge sizes, which made it dominate Earth for more than 150 million years, was also their weakness point and the reason of their extinction. These huge dinosaurs that lived freely and happily, and was dominating all creatures, didn't withstand all what the plane was exposed to. Mammals that lived as secondary creatures on the side, their small sizes and weakness were their key to survival. But if the asteroid hadn't hit Earth and the catastrophes hadn't happened, perhaps dinosaurs wouldn't have gone extinct, and if they wouldn't have gone extinct, we probably wouldn't exist, and reptiles would still dominate the planet. Perhaps this created a sort of jealousy towards dinosaurs, and we started to accuse them of failure to adapt, and now we're obsessed with bringing them back to life. Not because they're pretty, but to put them in zoos, and kids feed them with a stick, and feed the tyrant T-Rex, son, while he's in the cage in a zoo. Take it. Take it. I can't reach it. My eyes can see it, but my hands can't reach it. Aren't you being a bully, Abiomede? That's true, but it's extinct anyway. What would it do? Fingers crossed. Keep in mind that this is all about dinosaurs specifically, not any other extinct species, just to use these species for fun, like the film Jurassic Park, but it's impossible to find any DNA in a dinosaur fossil. DNA starts to decompose after the creature dies. The oldest DNA we managed to retrieve was a DNA of a horse that was only 700,000 years old. 700,000 years is nothing. This is the easiest step in cloning anyway, to find the DNA. We still need to get the DNA and plant it in a creature, and find thousands of other DNAs to ensure continuity and genetic diversity. Even if you succeeded in cloning a dinosaur, it wouldn't survive today's world. Me neither, Abiomede. Keep it together, Abiomede. It's an easy world. It wouldn't survive for other reasons. The form of oxygen and CO2 in the air today is different than what it's used to, and the temperatures are different too. Its body enzymes and digestive system used to ingest plants and creatures that don't exist anymore. The dinosaur's stomach can digest another dinosaur if it was a carnivore, or if it was a herbivore then digest primitive plants. Their fossils allowed us to identify their shape, color, and life without bringing them back to life. This dream probably won't come true during the years we live now. Imagine this sentence taken with or without context, then put side by side with a video of scientists cloning the first dinosaur. They would mention me as an example of how science improved and how stupid we were, dumb, and outdated back in the day. I'll be the reference. Sorry for the question, ABO Mead. How do we know all this from just some bones? Their shape, color, behavior, and skin. How did we conclude all that from just bones? Let me tell you, my friend, that sometimes some fossils had prints of the skin texture like this fossil for the T-Rex skin, and another dinosaur they called, and listen carefully here, thank God it's extinct. There are better things to do than pronouncing dinosaurs' names. Or also, the shape of the armor, like the nodosaurs, or some stoned feathers stick to fossil like the Psittacosaurus in Senckenberg Museum, and they start to conclude how the missing pieces fit using the pieces they found. They would see on the bone the place where the muscle was connected, so it would give them an idea on the shape of the muscular tissue, so we build the shape of the dinosaur based on the skeleton. An extraordinary engineering work. This isn't a job for scientists, it's for artists called the paleo artists. Okay, ABO Mead, this works for the muscles and skins. What about this dinosaur? This one, called the Emperor Dragon dinosaur, like Morgan Ahmed Morgan. How did they know that its skin had feathers? How can a huge dinosaur have feathers? Apparently, my friend, they didn't have shaving razors at the time. Why didn't we say it had hair, or fur, or scales like fish? Hair doesn't also remain in fossils. We can't exclude that this was how dinosaurs looked like. First of all, good question, my friend, excellent. Let me tell you that dinosaurs are from the theropods clade, which had feathers. Okay, ABO Mead, the flying dinosaurs needed feathers, as it creates air pockets to lift them up a little bit. This giant T-Rex with all that weight, why would it need feathers? How would it fly? Feathers is a secondary factor in flying. Its real function is the same as monkey's hair, fish scale, and dog's fur, to isolate and keep warm. The small T-Rex probably had thick feathers, but when they got older, most of their feathers fell. Sorry, ABO Mead, why not fur? Fur warms up better, or was it too expensive? Then penguins wouldn't have kept its feathers. Doesn't this penguin live on ice? Why does it still has feathers and not fur? Want to see how isolating feathers are? Look at the birds that swim. They don't care about the water's temperature. Feathers can also be used in functions other than warmth. Some dinosaurs used it to protect its eggs, or simply because it looks good. ABO Mead, do dinosaurs also? The female dinosaur used to get a nice feathered groom, and that would be the one. Sorry, ABO Mead, how did they know about the colors too? A dinosaur like the Anchiornis, how did they know its color scheme? Of course, colors won't stay for millions of years. There are pigment cells existent in the skin and feathers called melanosomes. These cells were fossilized, and from their pattern, they could conclude the color of the animal. For example, the Borealopelta had melanosomes with a pattern indicating it was brown from the top and lighter in its abdomen. ABO Mead, what if these melanosomes weren't found? Then scientists use an inference method based on living animals that look like the ones we're looking for. It's a method called phylogenetic bracketing, to determine the form of the animal comparing it to its living descendants, like crocodiles and birds, that we count as dinosaurs themselves. Yes, birds are dinosaurs. Chicken are dinosaurs. With a handful of guesses, they reach the shape of the dinosaur. If you took a look at the alligator, you'd find a double chin. If you hadn't seen a crocodile before and only saw its skeleton, it would be hard to guess it had a double chin. There are no bones that tell that. This is a mistake that the dinosaur artists sometimes make. They sometimes deal with it as if it doesn't have fats or excess weight. They draw fit dinosaurs. This drawing method is called shrink wrap, as if you made it smaller. All vertebrae have fat beneath their skin. If we drew animals based on their skeleton only, this is how the frog would look like, and that's how a sea lion would look, and a whale too. This is the turkey without feathers, and that's how it actually is. Some things can't be fossilized. Paleontology still has a lot to find out. The problem is that we don't know what we don't know. Don't rule out that the T-Rex ends up looking like a huge chicken with teeth. No ABO Mead please, bad omen. Lots of movies would be ruined. I wouldn't watch a movie with a chicken running after people and believe they're running away from it, or that this giant chicken dominated the planet for 160 million years. But this chicken and its dinosaur pals proved a success and supremacy that humans won't probably accomplish. Humans, with all what they are, have been alive for 300 or 400 or even 500,000 years. Dinosaur lived in an age lasted for 165 million years. All the legends, history, wars, pacts, people who lived, ones who died, Ghaffar el-Amda, Akhenaten, and Gilgamesh, all of that happened in only 300,000 years. That's like 15 minutes ratio ed to the planet's age. We lived 0.1% of the years dinosaurs lived, and if not for that asteroid, our planet would have still been ruled by dinosaurs who might have been smart. But remember that no matter how strong a creature gets, it's weak against nature. That's what we know so far. Studies proved that the asteroid exterminated dinosaurs when they were most glorious with stable ecological systems. Thinking about the dinosaur's life and fate debunks the biggest illusion in life, the illusion of permanence and continuity. That's it, my friend. Last but not least, don't forget to see the old episodes and the new ones, look at the sources, and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Will you continue telling us this, ABO Mead? Yes, until I go extinct. That's all. Since you stuck around so far in the episode, want to reward you since I said hard and complicated words, that you heard, understood, and watched till the end. Here comes the reward.